1940, Charlie Blood and I crawled through the house lattice and hunched in our mackinaws under Charlie's front piazza. We stared at the lemon sun squares checkering the shaded dirt. "Let's get a lunch," Charlie said, "and eat it here." Across the street, I tried for Wonder Bread. My mother said not until noon, and crawled back empty-handed. "She was in the kitchen," Charlie said, "and this is all I could get," lifting an ivory rectangular salt shaker from his coat pocket. We shook a teaspoonful in each of our hands, and we lapped most of it before we had to give up on it. Charlie then fished 2 wooden matches from his pocket. "We can get warm with a little fire." A few thin twigs and a piece of broken lattice were burning good when my mother saw the smoke and got my brother's belt. When the welts in my legs calmed down, I went looking for Charlie. I found him in Wormstead's field with Arthur's goat. "Let's go out in the woods," I said. We jumped the low-hum electric fence on the other side of Fairmount and walked to the top of Pirate's Glen, where kids, people said, buried gold when the valley was a river before the earthquake. At the slit mouth of the cave, I barked, and Charlie started in on his back, feet first, wiggling like a mannequin on strings, easing his chest, his turned head through the 10-inch opening, disappearing into the dark. When I got inside, Charlie was burning book matches one by one until they were gone. And we sat in the dark, leaning against the damp rock wall. No one knew where we were. "We need light," Charlie said, and we hiked home for a battery flash. I rummaged the cellar and the dining room commode for nothing. Charlie said he couldn't get past the kitchen, but he sneaked half a box of blue birthday candles. Inside the cave, we sat again in the flickering light. Charlie dripped blue wax and set the burning candles on a rock. We watched them burn down one by one. The thin candles flared in the hollow silence, dim, dimmer, black. We smelled burnt wick in the dark, 10 feet underground. We couldn't do a thing about it. We crawled into the spring light and ran between the piss oaks, burgeoning with yellow-green leaves. We slid down slide rocks. We skipped stones across the cow pond. If the salt has lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? We chased Tom Mahan's ganders until they turned, hissing, "Go back, go back." We hunted early columbine. Empty-handed, we scaled a leathery cowflap onto the South's front lawn. That Saturday, in the spring of 1940, Charlie and I were nimble. We were quick. We struck our flint and kicked the bushel. We were spring, jumping over everything. We were candlewick, flaring in the wind. The white pines dripped green over the dark road in the spring, and I sauntered in my tilting, swinging gait, lop-headed as the milk can, tinned the color of bronze, waved my right arms down, swinging the can, Indian quiet on the pine needles, eyeing the clumped green edges of the powdery summer-burnt dark road, watching for frogs, daydreaming of the sleek pickerel in the nearby cove, going for spring water. I was 5. I was a pickerel myself, dreaming of a lady pickerel, lounging in the shallow, warm water, her long, hungry tongue on hold, amputated arms brushing imperceptibly like a runner folded at the starting gun, drowsy and beagle-eyed in her green and yellow casement black, her long muscle alert to move in a lightning stab, and the long chew. the frog's leg dangling from her locked jaw, disappearing into the maw, like my father sucking a drop of tobacco juice at the corner of his mouth, and the plug inside his mouth, chewing in the sun at the other end of the boat watching the water, and me watching the water, holding my long bamboo pole toward the quiet water where the swirl occurred on the path to the spring, dizzy with August, mosquitoes rising from my feet on the damp path, dragging my can in a shallow spring, riling the bottom, eyeing the wood frog goggling 2 feet from my hand, swiping my left hand in front of his nose the way you lead a duck, pickerelling up from a grass-quilted slough, his feet dangling from the mouth of my hand, and I put him in the can and clonked the tin cover on. Back at the camp, my Uncle Harry asked me if the tumbler was still on the stick, and I thought it was a joke. What was a tumbler? And he said, "Tumbler," again. And then he took off the lid and saw the floating frog and swore, and my father laughed. All I could think of was a clown tumbling at the spring, and me grabbing the spotted brown blur in midair. I was 15 before I knew a tumbler was a drinking glass. For years it was there, upside down, and I saw it. Then it was gone. My Uncle Harry and my father were gone too. Last summer I cleared the leaves and sticks, but someone had placed another tumbler on an old broken stick. We bite the ice balls off our mittens with our teeth, run head starts and belly bump our flexible flyers down past supper time. The snow turns to sleet. Keith Berry cries, "It's getting slipperier and slipperier," and races Rusty Holtzman to the McGann's front steps. One more run, just one. Rusty's game, sweaty, played out. On a dare, he touches the blunt of his tongue to his sled runner. A piece of skin comes off, but he's happy. "This is the nuts," he says, over and over. And soon, "I gotta go home." One by one, the ice-crusted players drift off in the dead of the storm. I'm alone with Janice McGann. "Fun, fun," she says, and breasts her sled before me down the hill, and up and down again before I tackle her. Let me go, and I do, and run with my sled until my ice-clogged overshoes drag me down. A blur of icy wool shoves in my face, then against my naked throat a winter woolly crab, ice pinching. I grasp my frozen claws around her. Let me go. Our lobster coats buckling, shedders in December, out of season in the rasp of winter. I will not let her go as the sleet turns to hail on Little Barn Hill, 10 miles north of Boston in 1945. Janice, I kiss you still. The ice pelts our foreheads, blue snails, waves of small round snails bouncing and rolling, alive on the glassy crust, pelting our short, quick kiss, our light kiss, our melting, icy kiss, and then I let you go. And then I let you go. Down we crunch toward the bright lights in the houses below and say, "So long." So long, in the dark, I drag my sled past the High Street lamp at Garfield and Cleveland as the hail burns into sleet.